Hello everyone, welcome to the MealPro channel. If you're new here, I'm Chef Justin, and today we're here to talk about steaks. You know them, you love them, but you're terrified of cooking them. And that's okay. I'm here to go over some of the biggest mistakes, if you'll pardon the dad joke, that most people make while they're trying to cook a steak. Starting at the very top is picking the right cut for what you're trying to do. If you're going to be grilling or pan roasting a steak, what you're looking for is something that has a little less work on the cow, so it's going to be more tender and have a little more fat. Those cuts include ribeyes, fillets, and New York strips are probably the most common ones. There's other ones like skirt steaks and flank steaks and even bavettes and hangers. Those are a bit more obscure and we'll focus on those another time. What you're not looking for is some of the larger chunks of meat that get a lot of work on the cow. So you want to avoid stuff like briskets and chuck roast. Large pieces of meat that are really tough, and it doesn't matter what you do on the pan or grill, they're not going to get any more tender. So today we've picked out a nice ribeye that we're going to go ahead and cook up, which brings us to the next mistake that most people make, and that's seasoning the steak. Now personally, I actually like to season steaks probably about 30 minutes ahead of time to just go ahead and let that salt start to soak in. So it'll also even out the seasoning and give you a nice sear. After that, you want to dry it out a little bit. But since we're here talking about seasoning, I'm here to give you a quick recipe for a very classic seasoning for steaks called the Montreal seasoning. Now this one's pretty easy. You're going to start out with a half a cup of salt. To that you're going to add 1 tablespoon of cracked black pepper, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic, about a half tablespoon of coriander, then 1 teaspoon of cayenne, 1 teaspoon of paprika. Then traditionally you can throw in a little ground dill seed, but I like to actually change that up and do about a teaspoon of thyme. Now we're going to go ahead and just mix those together roughly, get them all in the container together, and just give it a nice shake to make sure everything's combined. And then we are going to go ahead and get that onto our steak so we can let that hang out for a while. Now you want to go ahead and season this pretty liberally. You got to remember that in the end only the outside of the steak is going to be seasoned. The inside, well, that's still going to need all the extra salt that you put on the outside. So we're going to go ahead and let this one rest for its 20 minutes. However, due to the magic of television, we have one that's already been seasoned and been allowed to sit for a while. So let me pull you in close and we can show you all of the next tricks to go along with it. Alright, now the next big problem that most people have is trying to get that wonderful sear on the outside so it has a beautiful brown crust and is really nice and flavorful. Well, usually that problem starts with the pan. What you're looking for is a nice heavy pan that's going to have some real weight to it. It's also known as thermal mass. So it's going to hold on to that heat and be able to direct it back out into the steak. Personally, I'm a great lover of carbon steel pans. However, lots of people swear by cast iron. But since I skipped arm day, I like these ones since they're a little bit lighter. Stainless steel works perfectly well too, but try to stay away from the non-stick pans and lighter aluminum ones. They just don't hold on to enough heat. Next thing is waiting for your pan to actually get hot. It takes a little patience, and that's not my strong suit either. But you want it on a nice medium-high flame, or the equivalent if you're using an induction burner. And you're just going to wait, and it's like you're going to feel the heat start to come off. Might start to see a little smoke from your pan. Then you're just going to go ahead, add a little high temperature oil. Personally, I like grapeseed, canola, avocado, and even just plain vegetable oil work as well. Swirl that around a bit. Make sure you're going to start to see little wisps of smoke come off. And then you're just going to drop your steak down. Make sure it has a nice contact. Sometimes you need to give the pan a little shake to make sure that it's not sticking. You want to make sure that you're getting a little oil underneath it as you cook it. Now, the big thing is if your pan isn't hot enough, you're going to spend the whole time what's known as chasing the sear. So while your steak is getting overcooked, it will never ever get that wonderful crust on it because you started with a cold pan. So we have ours in, it's nice, you can hear the sizzle. Then also want to make sure you can give it a little shake, you're going to see it move around a little bit. Now what we're looking for is while we have this down is that we're going to start to eventually see the color start to change. It's going to get a little gray and it's going to creep up on the sides. What you're looking for to turn it is that you're going to have that cooked gray look. It's going to creep about halfway up, perhaps a little bit less. But in the meantime, we're going to check the bottom, see if we're starting to get a little bit of color. And it looks like we are. So we're going to keep that kind of pressed down, let that go. Now the big thing to remember is this leads us to our next mistake, is that people always over or undercook their steaks. Now there's no foolproof method to it actually, so that is why I love one of these. It's a nice instant read thermometer. So you know that even if you have years of experience touching steaks and being able to just tell by the look, or some people swear they can do it by the smell, you know that once you have that in, what you're looking for is your rare is going to be between 115 to 120, mid-rare 125 to 130, medium is going to be 130, 135, mid-well's usually going to be about 140 to 145, and then well, after that you move into wells, which are going to be about 150 and up to charcoal, depending upon how you like it. But so we're going to go ahead and we're starting to see the steak. We're getting a little nice color on it. I'm pressing it down, not so much I'm trying to squeeze anything out. I'm just making sure that it's still making contact with the pan. So with that, we're going to go ahead, take a look. We have some nice color on the bottom. And we're just going to turn that back over and let it keep searing. While that goes, we're starting to feel it. It's like there are a few ways that you can actually start to get used to touching a steak to see if it's done. Now the old trick is always that with your hand you're going to press your index finger to your thumb and then feel just the cushion at the base. Now index finger to thumb, that's going to be your rare, so it should be nice and soft. Middle finger, it's going to be mid-rare. It's like it starts to tense up a little bit and you can feel it. Then your ring finger is even more firm. That's your next step up. To your pinky, where it's like you have a pretty solid ball of contracted muscle there, that's going to be your well. So this thing is starting to feel pretty good. We're going to go ahead and, because we're not going to trust the fingertip method, we're going to temp it out right now. We're at about 115. So one of the important things, and this leads me to the next part of it, is that you're going to want to pull your steaks a little bit before you've hit the temperature that you're looking for. It's called a carryover cook. Basically the idea is that you're putting all of this screaming hot energy into the outside, and that's going to take a while to work its way into the middle of the steak. So me personally, I like my ribeyes to be a nice mid-rare. So as we are approaching that sort of a 120 mark, we're going to check the bottom, make sure that we haven't burned anything too badly. Alright, so once we're there, we're actually going to go ahead, turn things off. And this is a bit more of an advanced tip here, but while we still have a nice hot pan, now's the time we're actually going to go ahead and add a little butter to the pan. Then I like a little crushed garlic and thyme. And we're just going to let that start kind of melt and start basting our steak. So as that melts, we're going to start getting that nice butter that's been seasoned up by our aromatics kind of over the top here. Alright, and once that's done, we're going to go ahead, pull this off, and not make mistake number 5. We're going to go ahead and let that rest.